Hi everybody, this is Mr. DeFelice, and we are going to work on rotations today. So for today's activity, you're going to be rotating shapes. You're going to follow the rules to rotate and then work on the practice problems. So first off, let's start off. What is a rotation? Remember, here's the definition of rotation. A rotation is simply a turn. You can turn it on its middle or around a point. Instead of saying around, mathematicians say about, like rotated about point A. Why? Well, who cares, but here it is. Here we're rotating this shape from its middle, and it's rotating, it's spinning. So it's different than shifting, like we did with translating, and it's different than reflecting. Here's another example where we rotated this rectangle and we shifted it by spinning it, not by moving it up or down or left or right. We physically spin the shape. So here are some key words or key rules to follow when you're rotating things. When you rotate an image, when you rotate an image, it always has to be around a point. So you have to be rotating it around something. So for our purposes, we're generally going to rotate around the origin and the coordinate plane at the center. So you know at the center of a graph, that's the origin right there. So we're going to be rotating around that point. We're going to use patty paper first, and then as we work on this, we'll see if there's a rule that works with rotations. Keywords to know is that when you rotate, you move clockwise or counterclockwise. So think of a clock. There's the 12, 3, 6, and 9. Clockwise is when you're going this way, the normal way. Counterclockwise is when you go backwards, so when you're going to the left. And then the other thing to know is that we rotate in degrees. So we rotate in increments of 90s. We start off at 90, then 180, 270, and 360. Because if you think about it, if you rotate in a full circle, you've probably heard this before, you rotate 360 degrees. But when we have a quadrant or a coordinate plane, there are 4 quadrants. So 360 divided by 90 is 4, right? Or 360 divided by 4 is 90. So we're breaking this up into 90-degree sections. This first quadrant right here, quadrant 1, is 90 degrees from the x-axis to the y-axis. Quadrant 2 is another 90 degrees, so now I've got 180. Quadrant 3 is 180. Is another 90, so that's 180 plus 90, which is 270. And then your fourth quadrant is another 90, so that gives you the 360 for a circle. You can keep rotating in circles and circles. So here's a couple examples. In this one, I'm taking a shape and I'm rotating it 90 degrees counterclockwise. So I'm spinning it 90 degrees to the left. So it shifts it over to the left 90 degrees. On the bottom two pictures, we have a shape being shifted or rotated 180 degrees. So it's spinning 90 degrees, then one more time around the origin to here. And then the last one, it's spinning 3 times around to get to here. Because eventually, if you spin this 360, it's going to wind back up in the same spot you started at by spinning it. Because you keep spinning and around and around. So let's try an example. Let's look at number 1 on the back side. You're going to rotate the following images using the rules listed. We're going to use patty paper to trace the new positions of the shape. For rotations, really patty paper is the only method that works. So the first thing you have to do is plot and label the coordinates below. So I'm going to plot 2, 1. I'm going to name it A. 2, 4, B. And then 5, 3. C. That's my original shape. It's a triangle, so I can connect the dots. So I plotted and I labeled the coordinates, and then I connected the points. Now I'm going to rotate the image 90 degrees counterclockwise 4 times. So I'm going to do this 4 different times. I'm going to have 3 different pictures that I'm adding on to this graph. If I do it right, I should wind up on my back on my original shape. So remember, when you're using patty paper, you trace over. The y-axis and the x-axis. So make it nice and dark. And then label it X and Y. So I know where my original beginning is. And I'm just going to trace over the picture that I drew. This is C, B, A. Okay, so my instructions say to rotate the image 90 degrees counterclockwise 4 times. I'm going to do it the first time. To rotate 90 degrees, keep your pencil in the origin, on the center of the origin. Don't press too hard, but press enough that it keeps the paper in place. And I'm going to spin it. See how it's moving like that? 90 degrees is when I spin it one time where the lines will line up again. So just like there, I stop. So let me start that over again. This is the original. To spin 90 degrees counterclockwise, counterclockwise means you're going to the left. I spin it one time to get the lines to meet up again. That's a 90-degree angle right there. And now I can press very deeply on the patty paper and hopefully it'll be enough where I could see the points. This was B, C, and A. And I'm going to trace over it in a different color just so I know that I have a different triangle. So I'll use purple. C, B, A. Okay, that was one time. So there was my shape. I'm going to spin it another 90 degrees, so it's the same idea. I line it up from where I left off. I'm going to spin it again until I meet up, until the axes meet up again. If it helps, keep your pencil in the center, in the origin, to spin. Just make sure everything's lined up. And trace again. Press hard. And label your points. So I can kind of see a faint outline of my triangle. This is A, B, C, and now this time I'm going to put 2 tick marks, or 2 numbers after, to indicate that this is the second time I've transformed it by rotating it. And again, I'm going to use a different color. This time I'll use blue to show that it's a new rotation. Alright, one last time. Line it up again, and I'm going to spin it 90 degrees to this quadrant. I can put my pencil in the origin, press hard enough that it keeps it in place, but I can spin it, and then here's my new shape. And then trace over it again, press nice and hard. This is B, A, C. And again, there's enough of an outline where I can see the location of the shape. I'm going to use 3 tick marks this time because this is the third time that I have shifted the shape. Let me trace over it with a different color. This time I'll use green. And I can see how the shape has changed as I rotated it around a couple of times. And now the way to check if we did it right, the last time, we are going to spin it again. So I'm going to put my pencil in the center. If I spin it by making the lines meet up again, the shape should line up. And it does. So I've rotated this a whole 360 degrees around the coordinate plane. Take a look at the one on the bottom. It's going to be the same idea. we're going to plot the points and then rotate it 180 degrees counterclockwise 2 times. So 180 degrees means that we have to go twice because that's 180 is 90 plus 90. So I'm going to plot the points. Let's label them A, B, C again. I've got 1, 3, 1, 6, and 6, 3. There's my original triangle. Using some new patty paper, same process. Trace over your X and Y axis. Nice and hard. This is my X. This is my Y. Trace over the shape to get the original. This is A. This is B. Okay. If I'm going 180 degrees counterclockwise, it means I'm going to the left again, because counterclockwise is to the left. Remember, 90 degrees is when I spun it 1 time. But to get to 180, I have to spin it 2 times because 90 times 2 is 180. So now I've rotated this 180 degrees counterclockwise. Press hard. Label your points. This was C, A, B, and then hopefully, yep, there's enough there that I can see. C, A prime, B prime. Connect my dots. And I'm going to trace over in a different color. Make sure we can see everything. A prime, C prime, B prime. So I just rotated this image 180 degrees counterclockwise. If I do it again, because it says to do it 2 times, look what happens. Lining it up from where we just left off. Make sure we can see the whole image. Okay. I'm going to spin it 90 degrees, so it lines up again. And then plus 90 is 180 and it lines up again. So that's how you can check your work to make sure you did it right. I'm going to have you work on the last one by yourself, and then there's some practice problems to finish after that. Good luck.